Mr. Dale Semper, finally we meet.
Finally, thank you, Phil. Thank you so much.
Mate, it's a pleasure. You know, it's easy for me to speak to someone who's been in a similar situation, and you grasp my problems as I grasp your problems.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've read a lot of stuff about you, and I've seen a lot of interviews, and it's shocking, disgusting what happened to you. But just give me a brief outline of what it is I'm suggesting. Just tell me how it went about, and then we'll dig into it, and we'll do the same with me.
Oh, well, like I said before in previous interviews, I was driving my partner to drop her off at the train station. She was about to fly back home to Jamaica in regards to a funeral. And all of a sudden, these police cars just came up to the side, pulled us out of the cars, get out of the car shouting, and we're arresting you for firearms. And I'm thinking, what is this? This can't be happening. You know, I know that I get stopped and searched quite regularly, right? But I never thought that you're telling me you're searching me for firearms, and then you're saying you have a warrant to come back to my home.
They had an actual warrant.
Yeah, they said we've got a warrant as well to search your property. And I'm thinking, to search my property? I'm like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? So then they took me back to my property after searching my partner and I on the sidewalk, right? And basically brought me back to the property. And from there, then all my neighbors are seeing them searching me. Everyone is looking. My alarm's going off in my property, so it's alerting all the neighbors within the neighborhood. And people are seeing all of this. Go into my property, you're looking for these firearms, you can't find anything. All I can hear in the background is these police officers like, oh, we need to hurry and get back because we have to have breakfast. We haven't had breakfast because they already know they're not going to find any firearms. But because it's got to that point where they're searching and know there's nothing, they're like, oh, we have to get breakfast. We need to hurry and get this over and done with. There's no firearms here. So it looks like to that point, they was going to release me and let me go.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, fine. Right? Partner is there. They went and searched her property and so on. They told my partner, oh, you can go now. You can go get your flight. They found some money in my safe. They found about £1,930. They gave her £100 out of that money and said, you can get a taxi now to go to the airport.
Who made these decisions? It was just like the top. Who made the decision she could have £100 and?
Well, apparently they said because you're going to be late for your flight, take £100 from me. I'm like, oh, thanks, giving her £100 of our own money to get, you know what I mean? So I'm like, okay. So she took the £100 and she went. After she left, straight away, we're going to arrest you for money laundering because this money you have here is from the proceeds of crime. Like I'm like, you just gave her £100
of the proceeds of crime.
How does it make any sense? Next thing you know, I'm down at the station, right, being interviewed, waiting to be interviewed for hours. I was in a cell for hours, right? Then the first thing during the interview, after the interview, first thing I got was someone from my place of work come down to say, you're being suspended from work. So if you're going to tell me that, straight to my mind is like, no, I work all day. In the afternoon, at the end of the day, nearing the end of the day, you're telling me I'm going to be suspended from work. I'm like, what the hell, what is going on?
And this is on the same day that you went?
The same day I went to the station.
Very caring of them, isn't it?
Yeah. So being suspended, then the police then interviewed me and said, we're releasing you under investigation.
Wow. So you know my situation with apropos Airbus and everything else. There's a lot of similarities within it. I think that any time that you're involved with government institutions or large conglomerates in our case, really they make their own rules up. And they don't like to, in my opinion, they don't like to ever admit to any wrongdoing, ever admit that they were wrong in any way. And so they compound that by adding lies to lies to lies. Yeah. But you see, the thing is that I've got you down as an intelligent man, and I think I'm fairly intelligent. Yeah. So when it comes down to this charging process, because I didn't know anything about pre-charge, and you explained to me that because you were talking about the pre-charge thing.
Yeah, one of the things I found really brilliant with Holborn Adams with the pre-charge, but even before I even get to that stage, when I had the legal aid solicitors, the lawyers, they kept on telling me, oh, we're waiting for you to be charged. I'm not thinking, so you're waiting for me to be charged before you actually do something. And then his explanation was, we don't get paid until we're in court, and you have to be charged for us to actually try and support you in any kind of way. So I'm like, nobody was actually doing anything to avoid this happening when I know I'm innocent.
Yeah.
So it's like I was just sitting there waiting for someone to come and destroy me.
But a lot of people would have. That's what
Yeah.
he was.
This is what would happen. And this is where I'm thinking I'm fortunate to be in a situation where I could afford to protect myself, because how many others out there couldn't protect themselves? So my partner researched, she found up a Holborn Adams and what they do with pre-charge. Straight away got onto them. And a few months, couple of months after, pre-charge, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like restraint application. They just had to rip that all up because all of this, it was done unlawfully. So it's just all these things. So it's just,
This is the thing, though, that when you say that it's been done unlawfully, this is like my situation with Airbus and with the arbitration and everything. You know, they've gone to arbitration with me, and yet it's 4 years out of date because they can. You know, they can. They're called flat track bullies. That's what happens. And with me and Holborn Adams, what happened there was I was put under, I got from the SFO, which is the Serious Fraud Office. You are going to be allegations into bribery, corruption, money laundering, which were completely false. Completely false, as were proved later, 18 months. They got onto them, Holborn Adams, and they switched it around and said, oh, nothing to see here. But by then the damage had been done. But at least I was clear in that respect. Yeah. So I think that the lesson for people is that you have to actually, you know that old phrase, it's like when you buy something, you make sure you buy quality, otherwise, I think it is that. And so that in itself put me at rest. But, you know, I empathise and sympathise with you, because half the time, did you sit there sometimes and go, is there a gun in the house? Yeah. Did I do this?
You know, the craziest thing is, right? Since this has been happening, I actually started believing in my own mind, maybe I did something I didn't remember, or did something happen in my house that I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
What have I done? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You start doubting yourself, because you have to remember, friends and family that used to be closer to you, they start distancing themselves from you, because this is all unwinding in front of them, and they're thinking, how was this happening? And a lot of people always say, no smoke without fire. Come on now.
Well,
you know what I mean?
But I have the same thing, and you know that old expression, you find out who your friends are. This is very true, because even in family, you see people and you hear that certain things, and you think to yourself, things have changed. And listen, you had a really good job. You'd worked your nuts off to get there, to do that. I was working. I worked my nuts off to do that, and that can end like that. Do you know what I mean? That can end. And the thing is, most people really don't care. They don't. And most people that are doing this, you're just another face, same as me. But it damages your lives. It damages everything. You know, your relationships, your wife, I don't know if you've got children.
No, none at all. Yeah.
Well, you're lucky in that respect. My two are like, you know, first of all, as I said, you know, they said to me, wow, you're Britain's most wanted man. Great. It's not so great, really. But we're working through it. So for you to come through what you've done and still keep that, you know, still keep stoic, but you've got that sense of humour, and you've obviously got a good family and friends.
100%, because I always believe in myself that if someone does something to me, is how you get back up and how you carry on is what makes you the person you are. Because it's in life is either you're going into a storm or coming out of one. And I feel like I'm one of these people that no matter what happens, I'm never going to give up. No. Right? And I'm always going to make sure that looking back at it, no one's going to ever look back at me and say, this is what you've done, right? And I want to show people that you can come back from something like this. I'm never going to give up. I'm never going to leave you alone.
Well, that's, I think my old man used to be a great Nat King Cole. For all I need, you know, pick yourself up, dust yourself off and start all over again. That's what you have to do.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
And you've obviously got a good woman behind you, the same as me, because they take as much as we do out of this. They're affected in the same way. We might be put there in the spotlight, but behind it, they get just as much. They have to go through the same stuff that we have to go through.
Yeah. And for me, she's like my rock. She's the one that keeps me on the straight and narrow. So many times I want to do a lot of things, but then she's always like, hey, you know, she always pulls me back. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, it's good having her there.
It is to have the voice of reason, because we can fly off the handle straight away. And sometimes, I mean, with Holborn Adams, that's the one thing that I like. They're very chilled. They know their stuff. And what I did like was that like they're around. I could always get hold of someone 24/7.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic, because one of them in particular, Adam, the lead of Holborn Adams, he's one of the ones that first got in touch with me at the beginning, and since then, for me, it's like, it's not just a solicitor's firm, it's become more like a family arrangement. So he's like, I can call him at any time, no matter where he is, I call him anytime. He's always accessible. Natasha, the same thing, they're always accessible. Adam, Andrew, and Natasha, they're all accessible.
That's what you said, which is really interesting, because you work for so long and so hard. You need someone that invests in you, not just from a monetary perspective. And you get the feeling, and I know I'm the same as you, that it is more like a family setup. And it makes sense that they want to get to, and they've taken you this far, and there's finally a little glint at the end now of that tunnel. So as far as I'm concerned, I think that road started to even out a bit now.
Yeah, and I'm speaking from experience here, whereas sometimes we had situations where I'm thinking, oh, I need to find ways in which I'm going to have to source the funds to make sure I pay for my protection. And Holborn Adams, they've always been there for me, saying, don't worry, we'll find a way, we'll find a way. So it felt like they're on this journey with me. I wasn't by myself. So I felt like they was there supporting me. There was no additional pressure and so on. So I just felt like,
a family, like you said, I think, which is commendable. So, we could talk about our cases for about 3-4 hours. We probably won't finish, but but we could talk and talk and talk. But I think there's enough stuff out there on what happened to you, which was disgusting. What happened to me, which is equally disgusting. There's no, we've both been through the same thing. And I think that what it does is emphasize this can happen to anyone. And if you're in this position, then you have to do something about it. And there are ways out. There are mechanisms in place. Immediately you go, oh, that's it. Bribery, corruption, money laundering. I've got a red notice on me. You think, oh, that's it. I'm going down for 25 years. And I've had some lawyers that have said, you might be better off just, brokering a bargain and taking the plea, and you might have to do 18 months. And I've gone, but I didn't do anything. Why should, a part of me did fancy 18 months of peace and quiet, but I didn't think it would be that peaceful in there, so I left that well alone.
Sometimes it's a principle,
Yeah, well, you know what? It is the principle, but principles and morals where we are, you have to be like that. And I see that in you. I can see it in your face. You see that people will go, oh, I've had it before. He doesn't look very happy. Why? You know what? You don't seem your normal self, and so forth and so forth. So I wish you nothing but the best, my friend. And I hope that it's not another drawn out thing. It won't be. Get your life back on track. And then big hammock somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere.
Well, it won't be here. Not in this country. There it is. A bit of rum and coke or a beer. Down
something.
you go. Because that's it. But you're made of this. This is your fabric now.
Yeah, I think it's changed me. It made me become more of the person I was supposed to be. And it's changed me in certain ways. So I see things differently now. So things I wouldn't have noticed, I've noticed, and I will spot them, and I'm like thinking, you know what?
That's good.
Yeah, it's made me, for me, in a way, it's made me a better person. Although, don't get me wrong, I didn't want this to happen to me. I wish this never happened to me.
Of course.
But it's actually made me who I am today.
Right? I can see that.
Because I'm not the same person I was 6-7 years ago. I'm not the same person I was even yesterday. I'm different. I'm always changing. Yeah. I'm adapting.
Yeah, but this is not something you would wish on anyone, to adapt. But that's strength of character, my friend.
Thank you so much, Phil.
Thank you, man. It's been an absolute
pleasure. Pleasure.